You notice the number first, glowing quietly on distant screens, heavy like a warning light. No one remembers installing, but everyone feels pulsing now. Gold does not shout yet. Its silence at 4,400 feels louder than alarms you once trusted. You tell yourself this rise is temporary, a fever that will break once confidence returns to its proper place. Confidence, however, no longer lives where you left it. It has been pacing elsewhere, measuring exits, weighing doors you pretended were decorative. You feel watched by something ancient patient and unmoved by speeches or promises. Gold has always waited like this, never chasing, never pleading, only observing human impatience decay. The dollar still smiles publicly, but the smile has begun to tremble at the edges. You sense the effort required to maintain that expression growing heavier each day. Maintaining appearances used to feel powerful. Now it feels exhausting. Exhaustion changes priorities without asking permission. You stop defending the story and start managing reactions to it. Reactions are easier to shape than reality. Reality has slipped its leash and wandered somewhere uncomfortable. Gold's rise feels less like ambition and more like remembrance. It remembers what you tried to forget. Forgetting once felt like progress. Progress now feels suspiciously fragile. Fragile things demand constant reassurance. You begin to realize reassurance is no longer working. You remember when people said the dollar was a fortress, and you believed them because the walls were high and the banners never stopped waving. Now the banners still wave, but you can see the hands beneath the fabric, shaking with a strain they refuse to name. Gold's price feels like footsteps upstairs when you live alone. Each step is measured, deliberate, impossible to dismiss as coincidence. You start checking locks you never questioned before. The locks look intact, yet the frame around them has begun to splinter. Splinters don't break the door. They tell you the door has been leaning too long. Leaning becomes habit, and habit becomes weakness. Weakness isn't announced, it's absorbed. You absorb it through headlines, through casual jokes, through the way conversations change when they think you cannot hear. You hear everything now. You hear the pauses. You hear polite laughter hiding fear. Fear travels faster than facts. Facts require attention, and attention is expensive. People conserve it the way they conserve heat in winter. In that cold, gold feels like a fireplace in the next room. You tell yourself you won't go looking, but your body moves before your reasons catch up. That is how belief begins to betray you. You tell yourself this curiosity is harmless, but curiosity has always been the first crack in a confident foundation. The dollar still commands rooms, yet you notice how often others avoid meeting its gaze. Avoidance used to be politeness. Now it feels like calculation. Calculation happens quietly behind closed doors, without ceremonies or flags. You sense agreements forming without your reflection in the glass. Glass once showed you strength. Now it shows distance. Distance grows fastest when trust thins. Trust thins when promises repeat themselves too often. Repetition turns reassurance into background noise. Noise fades, but the signal underneath sharpens. The signal says, patience is being replaced. Replaced by preparation. Preparation looks calm from the outside. Inside, it feels like packing boxes at night. You wonder who taught everyone to pack so quietly. Quiet packing leaves no mess until morning. Morning arrives with fewer chairs at the table. No one explains where they went. Explanation would admit movement. Movement would admit intention. Intention is the word everyone avoids, because intention means someone chose this path with open eyes. Choice feels dangerous when you have built a story around inevitability. Inevitable things forgive no one. You find comfort in saying this was bound to happen. Comfort dulls responsibility. Responsibility would demand action. Action would disrupt the calm you are instructed to preserve. Calm has become sacred. Sacred things are not questioned. You notice how often gold is mentioned without being discussed. Mention replaces examination. Examination invites conclusion. Conclusions threaten continuity. Continuity keeps the lights on. You keep the lights on even as rooms empty. Empty rooms echo louder than crowded ones. Echoes carry memory. Memory points backward where mistakes live. Mistakes are expensive, so you learn to stop looking back. Looking back would reveal how slowly the ground shifted beneath your feet while you were applauding stability. Stability rewards stillness. Stillness allows quiet rearrangement. Rearrangement favors those who move early. Early movers never announce themselves. They leave signs, instead subtle and deniable. Gold is one of those signs. You notice how often it appears when trust is spoken softly. Soft speech usually accompanies difficult truths. Difficult truths are postponed until they expire. Expired truths are buried without ceremony. Burial creates the illusion of closure. Closure comforts the anxious. Anxiety is managed, not cured. Management requires distance. Distance keeps panic abstract. Abstract panic feels controllable. Control is reassured daily. Reassurance loses strength with repetition. You feel its grip slipping. You notice how conversations now end sooner, as if everyone is conserving words the way sailors conserve water before land disappears. Silence has become a currency more trusted than promises. Promises feel fragile under scrutiny. Silence survives inspection. Gold thrives in silence. It does not argue or explain. It simply remains. Remaining has become the new signal of strength. Strength once meant expansion. Expansion now feels reckless. Recklessness is punished quietly. Quiet punishment leaves no martyrs. Without martyrs, there is no story. Without story, attention drifts. Drifting attention benefits those already prepared. Prepared people rarely seek applause. Applause attracts witnesses. Witnesses ask questions. Questions slow movement. So movement happens without you. You begin to sense that absence is louder than collapse because nothing visibly breaks, while everything important quietly relocates. Relocation sounds temporary, almost polite. Polite exits do not trigger alarms. Alarms are reserved for chaos, not coordination. Coordination feels reassuring. Reassurance lowers defenses. Lowered defenses invite permanence. Permanence settles before permission is granted. You look for the moment this could have been stopped. The moment is always behind you. Behind you, the doors have already closed. Closed doors reduce options. Reduced options simplify narratives. Simple narratives travel faster. Speed replaces accuracy. Accuracy requires patience. Patience has been priced out. You notice gold mentioned again briefly as if by accident. Accidents rarely repeat this precisely. Precision reveals intention. Intention is never announced. It reveals itself through repetition, patience, and the quiet confidence of those no longer seeking reassurance. You notice fewer arguments defending the dollar, replaced by tired reminders that everything remains under control. Control used to be demonstrated, not declared. Declarations signal anxiety. Anxiety leaks through polished language. Polished language cannot hide exhaustion. Exhaustion settles first among those tasked with convincing others. Convincing has become a full-time occupation. Occupations change when realities shift. You feel the shift in the way rooms fall silent when gold is mentioned. Silence acknowledges gravity. Gravity pulls without asking permission. Once falling begins, posture no longer matters. You adjust posture anyway, hoping appearance can still influence outcome. Hope becomes ritual. Ritual replaces strategy. Strategy requires admitting vulnerability. Vulnerability invites consequence. Consequence has been delayed, not denied. Delay stretches nerves thinner than impact ever could. You realize delay has become the preferred weapon, stretching tension until people forget what urgency once felt like. Forgotten urgency cannot organize resistance. Resistance requires shared timing. Timing has been fragmented. Fragmentation keeps everyone slightly out of sync. Out of sync movements cancel each other. Cancellation looks like calm. Calm is praised as maturity. Maturity is confused with surrender. Surrender is never named. Names would clarify responsibility. Responsibility would invite judgment. Judgment has been labeled unproductive. Productivity now measures silence, not truth. Truth interrupts schedules. Schedules protect appearances. Appearances protect confidence. Confidence is still spoken of, less often seen. You catch yourself repeating the word without conviction. Repetition cannot restore what has already thinned. You feel the strain of pretending nothing has changed, even as every instinct tells you the ground rules have quietly rewritten themselves. Rewritten rules are never announced. Announcement would invite debate. Debate would slow the process. Speed is now protection. Protection favors those already moving. Movement no longer requires permission. Permission implied oversight. Oversight has become ceremonial. Ceremonies soothe observers. Observers mistake ritual for control. Control has shifted elsewhere. Elsewhere is never specified. Specifics create accountability. Accountability creates friction. Friction threatens momentum. Momentum is defended aggressively. Defense is framed as stability. Stability feels increasingly performative. You applaud anyway, unsure when clapping became compulsory. You notice how applause masks unease, filling space, so no one hears the quieter question forming beneath the noise. The question asks, who benefits from all this calm? Calm rarely benefits the anxious. It favors those already positioned to leave. Leaving does not require panic. Panic would draw attention. Attention would force explanation. Explanation would reveal imbalance. Imbalance is treated as temporary. Temporary problems justify permanent adjustments. Adjustments are framed as prudence. Prudence sounds responsible. Responsibility is comforting when outcomes remain distant. Distance allows denial to breathe. Denial has become a shared habit. Shared habits feel safe. Safety is confused with durability. Durability once belonged to the dollar. You sense that belonging, quietly transferring elsewhere. Transfer never asks permission. You feel consent fading as a concept replaced by momentum that treats hesitation as irrelevance rather than resistance. Irrelevance is quieter than opposition. Quiet erasure leaves no villains. Without villains, anger dissolves. Dissolved anger cannot mobilize. Mobilization requires belief in agency. Agency has been reframed as volatility. Volatility is discouraged. Discouragement wears the mask of prudence. Prudence delays confrontation. Delayed confrontation hardens outcomes. Hardened outcomes resist reversal. You realize reversal was never planned. Planning occurred elsewhere earlier. Earlier moments felt ordinary. Ordinary moments are easiest to miss. Missing them feels harmless at first. Harmless neglect accumulates. Accumulation becomes destiny. Destiny arrives quietly, like a locked door discovered too late. You stand before the locked door, realizing it was never locked suddenly, but closed inch by inch while you were told it remained open. Open doors create the illusion of choice. Illusions require maintenance. Maintenance distracts from escape. Escape is unnecessary when people believe they are free. Freedom becomes a word, not a condition. Words are easier to manage than reality. Managing words has replaced managing outcomes. Outcomes now arrive pre-decided. You sense decisions were finalized long before you notice the silence. Silence is the signature of confidence. Confidence no longer needs consensus. Consensus slows dominance. Dominance prefers inevitability. Inevitable paths erase resistance without confrontation. Without confrontation, there is no breaking point. Without a breaking point, collapse feels like transition. Transitions are framed as progress. Progress is celebrated even as ground disappears. You applaud again, aware this time of what the applause conceals. Awareness changes nothing by itself. It only sharpens the pain of knowing how willingly you participated in your own diminishing influence. Participation felt harmless at the time. Harmless choices compound quietly. Compounding disguises scale. Scale is recognized only when reversal becomes impossible. Impossible moments rarely arrive with alarms. They arrive with paperwork. Paperwork feels neutral. Neutrality numbs urgency. Urgency is dismissed as emotional. Emotion is framed as weakness. Weakness is excluded from decision rooms. Decision rooms have grown smaller. Smaller rooms concentrate power. Concentrated power prefers silence. Silence preserves momentum. Momentum continues without consensus. Consensus would imply shared ownership. Ownership would invite blame. Blame has already been assigned elsewhere. You search for someone to confront, but every corridor redirects you to process procedure and carefully worded statements that absorb blame without accepting it. Statements are softer than answers. Softness disarms anger. Disarmed anger turns inward. Inward anger becomes shame. Shame isolates quietly. Isolation weakens collective memory. Memory once anchored value. Value now floats. Floating things drift toward stronger gravity. Gravity has shifted. Shift is denied until alignment is complete. Completion leaves no return path. You notice gold again, no longer whispered, now placed openly on the table. Openness signals confidence. Confidence has changed owners. Ownership is never sentimental. Sentiment belongs to those who stayed too long. Too long is always measured in hindsight. You finally stop applauding. Silence follows the stopped applause heavier than noise, because now there is nothing left to distract you from what has already changed. Change no longer asks for belief. It demands adjustment. Adjustment feels smaller than resistance. Smaller actions feel survivable. Survival replaces ambition. Ambition once defined dominance. Dominance now belongs to those who planned, while others reacted. Reaction always arrives late. Late arrivals inherit rules they did not write. Writing has moved to different hands. Those hands do not shake. They move slowly, deliberately. Deliberate movements create permanence. Permanence does not celebrate. It settles. You feel the settling everywhere in tone, posture, expectation. Expectation has lowered. Lowered expectations feel like relief. Relief marks the end of resistance.